Okay, before we start this, I want to solve an easy equation for x. Negative 4x plus 1 equals 3x plus 15. Now the x's in the equation are powerless. That means they're to the first power, the 1 power. So that's why there's only going to be one answer. Okay, so whenever I have to find just one answer, I can use linear properties to find the answer. Okay. Now, linear properties, you take one of the x's out, okay? Let's go with the negative 4. So I'm going to add 4x and then add it to the 3x. So that leaves me with a whole value of positive 1 over there. That's going to be 7x plus 15. So on the x side of the equation, I have a times 7 and a plus 15. So we take out the plus 15 with minus 15. 1 minus 15 is negative 14. And then we have 7 times x. We divide by 7. And negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. So negative 2 is the answer. Now game changes on the next one. We're not doing all these examples, okay? Like this one, I'm going to cross that out, okay? Now you got to solve the equation. You're using what we did the past couple days and solving it. So we have x to the second power minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. So now the x does have a power and it's to the second. So that means there'll be two answers. Now I have x to the second and I also have the x powerless. So that's x second and x to the first. Don't put a first. Powerless means it's to the first. So those can't be combined. So we have to use now factoring properties. Okay? Factoring properties. You can just write factoring if you want, or factor. Okay. All right, now factoring properties, you got to make sure that one of the sides of the equals is 0, and you're there, so you write set now. Now, I'm going to block that off then, okay, and just look at here. Now you see three terms. You have a 1x to the second, an 11x, and a 24, okay. When you have three terms, you're going to set up the GCF box with equals 0 outside. And then you're going to make a second, bigger, taller box. You're going to split it in half, and we're going to put the t-table that we're going to have to use right there. Okay. Now GCF, I know this is going to seem stupid that you're doing that today, but it will benefit you in the long run. So you check your last term. You do not see an x variable. Don't put x. You don't see a negative. We're not going to put a negative. So you got to watch that. Now I'm looking at three numbers, 1, 11, and 24 on the multiplication table. Okay, a 1, an 11, and a 24. Well, 1 is the smallest number. The only place 1 appears on the multiplication table is up here in the first row, okay, on row 1. So that would mean I'd have a GCF of 1. Now, if I have a GCF of 1, I'm not going to be doing that step, okay, because dividing everything by 1 doesn't change it. Okay, now if it was a 2, that'd be a different story, but it's a 1. Now you do what you did yesterday, ABC. We're going to make our parentheses down here. So I take 1 times 24. 1 times 24 is 24. It's positive, so you should be writing the word match. And under the word match, write at. So if you write match down, just throw two matching signs in there. Okay, negative, negative. We'll switch them if we have to. So we are adding to get to negative 11. Okay, so now I put a division sign after the 24, and I start dividing 24. 24 divided by 1 is 24. If you add those, that is not negative 11. Okay, so it can't be that. Now reset the signs, and now go to 2. Okay, so I divided by 2, and my result was 12. So I put 2 with 12. Negative 2 plus negative 12 is negative 14. So it can't be that. After 2 comes 3. I take 20, put the signs down first so they're ready to go. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I put 3, 8. I believe that is negative 11, and I want it negative 11, okay? Remember, if I wanted positive 11, I'd just go plus plus, but I want negative 11, okay? Now, after you find the numbers, get in the habit of writing this. Write a equals, and then 1x to the second power, okay? Because that tells you in the parentheses, we're just going to go minus 3, or minus 8, minus 3, minus 8. That's an 8. That is an 8. And then 1x to the second, we're going to go 1, 1, because that's 1 times 1 is 1. X to the second is x, x. Now, please take the 1s out. You don't need those 1s there. Now you set your parentheses over here. X minus 3 times x minus 8. Now, after it, you put equals 0. Now we get the two answers using this method. Put F1 there. It's actually P1, but I start calling it F1 now, and F2 here. So x minus 3 could equal 0, or x minus 8 could equal 0. You just set the inside equal to 0. Now you take out the minus 3 by plus 3, and 0 plus 3 is 3, and that's your first answer. Now you take out the minus 8 with a plus 8, and 0 plus 8 is 8. 8 is your second answer, 3 and 8. Okay, turn the page. We're going to do this problem. We're going to cross this one out, okay? X to the second power plus 6x equals 11. So, again, we have two answers we have to find. We have the x to the second, and there's also a powerless x, so we have x. We can't combine those, so we have to use factoring properties. Just put factor, okay? Problem is, your zero's not there. See, the first problem, I had a 0 right there. Well, I put a 0 there myself. That means I got to minus the 55. Now, I look over here and ask myself, where could 50 put a 1 there? Where would 55 go? Well, 55 is not multiplied by any letter or variable. So it can't go here and it can't go here, so I put it off to the side. So then I line up my equals. I put my equals 0. Then you need to use slotting. So x second, and we have x, and we do have a constant. It's constant. So x second is 1. The x is 6. And the constant is negative 55. If it's a minus, you slot it as a negative, okay? Now you're exactly where you were on the previous step. You see that we have the 0, and there's 1, 2, 3 terms now. So 3 terms will be the GCF, followed by our table. Okay, put your equals 0 out there. Now, I don't see an x after that 55, so I don't put a letter there. I don't see a negative in front, so no negative. 1, 6, and 55 is just going to be 1 again, okay? So we will not do that step. Now, A, B, C. So I will take positive 1 times negative 55, okay? It's negative 55, so you write 55 with its negative, and a negative is a mismatch. So if you get mismatched, just put a positive and a negative. We can change it later, okay? We are adding to the B, which is positive 6, okay? All right, so I start dividing 55 by numbers. 55 divided by 1 is 55. So I put a 1 and a 55. So 1 plus negative 55, nope. It's got to be 6 of some kind. 55 divided by 2 is a decimal. 55 divided by 3 is a decimal. 4. See, I'm just skipping it. 5, 11. So put the number you divided by in the result. Now add those. 5 plus negative 11. Okay, we got negative 6, but we got to make it positive 6. If it's the wrong sign, you just go plus here, negative here. Now negative 5 plus 11 is 6. Okay, now before I put the parentheses, a is 1x to the second power. So we make our parentheses, and then we have the minus 5 and the plus 11. That multiplies to the negative 55. Then the 1x second would be 1, 1, x, x. Now, take your 1's out. You don't need those. If it's not a 1, you'll have to keep it, but that hasn't happened yet. So x minus 5 times x plus 11 equals 0. Now that's f1, that's f2. So x minus 5 could equal 0, x plus 11 equals 0. So plus 5, that's 5. See, having the 1 there gets in the way. I don't need a 1. Okay. 0 minus 11 is negative 11. Okay. Those are your answers. Okay, next page. Cross out, on to the next one. Cross out. Okay, let's do this one. X to the second power minus 15x equals negative 8x minus 10. Okay. Follow the game plan. So you got 2 answers. That's your first go-to. And you have x second, and you have x. Okay, you got a couple x's, but we have these both, x second and x. So we have to use our factoring properties. Now, factoring properties, we do not see a 0. So I put a 0, and I have to take these 2 things out. So I'm going to plus 8x. Now that doesn't go here. That goes somewhere. That would go with your 15x. Because see, the negative 8, the 8 I'm adding is multiplied by x. Well, so is the negative 15, so I add it here, not up top. Then I take out the negative 10 by plussing 10. Now 10 didn't have a variable. Well, it can't go with this, and it can't go with these 2, so I put plus 10 up there. Now you got to slot it, okay? Equals 0. Slot for x to the second, plus a slot for x, plus, and we do have a constant, okay? And constant means a number without a variable. So x second, you got 1. Now for the x, you don't just take 15 plus 8, it's negative 15 plus 8. So it's negative 7. Then we have our positive 10. So I put 10 in there. Now we go to work, okay? Equals 0. So that's 3 terms, trinomial. Now I put those into factored form, just like yesterday. GCF table. GCF, there's no variable, there's no negative. 1, 7, and 10 would just be in row 1, okay? So that means we don't do it. If it's 1's all we come up with, don't do it. A, B, C. So I'm taking a positive 1 times a positive 10. Well, that's positive 10, okay? That's a match. So just put 2 signs that match, and then what you're adding to. We're adding to negative 7. That's, you're always adding to whatever the B is. It's a negative 7, so we put that there. Now I divide. 10 divided by 1 is 10. But I don't believe those add to negative 7. They negative 11 is not what I have. Set up the signs again. After 1 comes 2. 2, 5. Okay. There's my negative 7, and I want it negative 7. Okay. If I wanted positive 7, I'd switch the signs. Okay. Now A is 1x to the second. So when I make my 2 parentheses, minus 2 minus 5. So 1x, 1x. Okay. Okay, take your 1's out, and we're just going to have x minus 2, x minus 5 equals 0. F1, F2. So x minus 2 could equal 0, or x minus 5 could equal 0. And then I get the 2 answers with this property here. Plus 2 takes out the minus 2, and I get 2. Plus 5 takes out the minus 5, and that's 5. So 2 and 5 are my answers. Okay, then I'm going to take a look at this one. X to the second minus 8 equals negative 13x plus 6. So we know that the equation has 2 solutions because the x is to the second power. So we have x to the second, and we have x to the first. So you have to use your factoring principles or properties. Problem is, again, I don't see 0. I'm not set, okay? So put a 1 there. Take out your negative 13x with a plus 13x. Now that's an x. I don't see x over there. I see x second, but not x, so I hang that out. Then take out your positive 6 with a minus 6. Now 6 wasn't multiplied by anything. It can't go with this, but it can go with the negative 8. Okay. Now if ever there was a problem you had to do slots, this would be it. You have to slot it so you get this in the right order. Otherwise your t-chart's not going to work out. Okay. So x second, you got the 1. X, not this. I have positive 13. Then your constants. You don't just take 8 minus 6. It's negative 8 minus 6. That's negative 14. Okay, now my 3 terms are set up and I can go to work. GCF and the table. I am not seeing an X there. I am not seeing a negative. 1, 13, and 14 would just be a 1. Okay. So if the GCF's 1, we just don't do that. Now ABC, and you take positive 1 times negative 14. Well, that's going to be a negative 14, so that's a mismatch. So just put 2 signs at mismatch, and we have to add to positive 13. You're always adding to what the B is. Now I divide. 14 divided by 1 is 14. Okay, I got negative 13. Well, to make it a positive 13, we just make the 14 the positive and the 1 the negative. It's that easy. Okay. Okay, now A up there is 1x to the second. We got to keep an eye on that for tomorrow's purposes. Minus 1 plus 14. And then 1, 1, x, x. Take the 1's off. And we have x minus 1 times x plus 14 equals 0. So F1, F2. Okay. So x minus 1 could equal 0, or x plus 14 could equal 0. So if I plus 1, I get 1. There's my first answer. And if I minus 14 from 0, it takes us to negative 14. Okay, cross that one out. Now it's the assignment. This one you're not set. Okay, I don't think that 50 goes with anything, so go here. This one's set. You can go right to your boxes right away. You don't have to reset it. Number 3, that's not set. That 7 can go with the 8, but remember that 8's a negative. This one definitely isn't set. That wouldn't go with anything. That would go with the 5. Okay, you got to slot that one though.